Bugatti is one of the most highly acclaimed luxury car brands in the world. Using a model of supercharged cars and limited releases, the brand has gained a devout following. Celebrities from Exhibit to Birdman and Floyd Mayweather all own one of these legendary vehicles. But few people know about the history and trivia that surround the famed automaker. Today we are exploring 10 interesting facts about Bugatti. The Bugatti Chiron is a marvel of engineering. The most recent model went on the market with a limited run of 500 vehicles. Of these, 250 sold out immediately, without so much as a test drive. That means that Bugatti raked in $650 million in a single day, without any advertising or overhead. Bugatti plans to produce around 70 cars per year, meaning the company is prepped for 7 years of production, with the first 3 customer cars leaving the Bugatti Atelier in Molsheim, France in 2016. So the factory will be busy for many years with this last order. But what exactly makes these cars so expensive and time-intensive to produce? A huge part of the equation are the 10 radiators installed in every model. The standard car only has 1, but the Chiron requires 10 in order to keep the 1200 horsepower engine cool. Then consider that these highly complicated radiators take 15 hours each to build. That means that a single car will require 150 skilled man-hours just to build its radiators. No wonder the factory will be backed up for decades to come. Though many customers will need to wait 5 years or more to receive their vehicles, the wait will well be worth it. The Bugatti Veyron is one of the sleekest sports cars on the road. It also has incredible mechanical specs. Priced at $1.4 million, consumers expect this car to perform well, and they won't be disappointed. The Veyron broke the world record for the fastest street-legal car in the world, with a top speed of 267 miles per hour and an average top speed of 254 miles per hour. But in order to reach these speeds, the Veyron is guzzling fuel like a rocket. The car only gets a laughable 10 miles per gallon. That means you'll need to fuel up every 100 miles. However, the 10 miles per gallon assume that motorists are driving along at normal highway speeds. If you're using the full potential of the Veyron and reaching top speeds, the tank will only last you a measly 8 minutes. Suddenly 267 miles per hour doesn't sound as appealing if you need to drive back to the gas station after only 5 minutes. Obviously, this is bad for both your wallet and the environment, but it's generally accepted that Bugattis are not meant to be used as an everyday commuter car. Obviously, Bugatti is one of the biggest names in automobiles, but founder Ettore Bugatti was fascinated with all types of luxury vehicles. He started thinking about airplanes before World War I, and in 1915 designed his first aviation engine. This first straight-8 engine was later developed into a U-16, the license of which was sold to the US. A series of engines was also being started with in France. After a series of successful engines, Bugatti was ready to take on his own aircraft. There was only one Bugatti Model 100P ever produced, and it never had an official flight. With the outbreak of WW2 and the imminent fall of Paris, Bugatti had the aircraft disassembled and hidden on his estate. Bugatti died in 1947, having never resumed work on it. The aircraft remained in storage throughout World War II. It was sold several times, and its twin Bugatti 50P engines were removed for automotive restorations. In 1971, a restoration effort was started. The aircraft was stored by the National Museum of the United States Air Force, then transferred to the EAA Air Venture Museum collection, where restoration was completed, and it remains there on static display. Bugatti knows that their brand is synonymous with opulence and expensive features. That's why they've rolled out several models with real diamonds inlaid in the hardware. Their controversial marble exterior Chiron placed a single diamond on each of the speakers, in addition to the speedometer. However, the car was extremely divisive. With a $2.6 million price tag, many thought that the new Chiron was gaudy and classless. It turns out the Bugatti installed the diamonds in the speakers as a unique way to deal with audio interference. The development was prompted by a Fraunhofer Institute research paper investigating the acoustic advantages of diamonds, whose conclusion was that membranes made of CVD diamond enable audio frequencies of up to 100 kHz to be transmitted, values that are not achievable with any other material. Human hearing doesn't extend above 20 kHz, but diamonds evidently do have qualities that are desirable for achieving superior reproduction of sound. Whatever the reason, the Chiron sold very poorly. Many were critical of the garish marble pattern and cheesy features. Some thought that the diamond motif was too much, while others felt it didn't go far enough. Regardless, Bugatti has ceased production of this model, meaning that the marble Chiron belongs to only a handful of collectors. Only time will tell if they appreciate in value and mystique. Most people recognize Bugatti vehicles for their sleek design and refined aesthetics, But few people know that the Bugatti family has a rich history in fine arts and functional art. It all began with Carlo Bugatti, the patriarch of the family. Born in Milan in 1856 and educated in France, he was particularly enamored with the Art Nouveau movement that was in vogue at the time. Art Nouveau was inspired by natural forms and often uses floral motifs and colorful templates. His discipline was mainly Art Nouveau furniture, though he was also known as a painter and designer of jewelry and silver tableware. Carlo's son Rembrandt was equally talented. He was a sculptor, specializing in animals cast in bronze. Living in Belgium in the early 1900s, he would arrive early in the day at menageries like the Antwerp Zoo and fashion animal likenesses while the creatures were most active, all the better to capture them in motion. And then there was Rembrandt's brother, Ettore. He had the same creativity and eye for design. The only difference is that his medium was the automobile. He started building cars in his basement, starting with the Type 10 race car, and working up to such classic cars as the Royale and the Type 57. An outside observer might think that Ettore deviated from his family's artistic background, but in truth he carried on their creative tradition. The Veyron may be the best known of the Bugatti family, but the Chiron is a close second. Recently it was criticized for the design of its front grille. The Bugatti Chiron used to have a front grille made of aluminum, the same material used to make the car's bodywork. However, like jet engines, the car started to have problems with bird strikes. At a top speed of 249 miles per hour, birds would simply smash straight through the grille and end up wedged in the radiator, leaving the front end of the car dented and damaged. Later Chiron models now have a titanium grille, which is tough enough to withstand any altercation with a winged adversary. There were other problems with hawks and endangered birds of prey dying in the grille of the car, prompting the question, is it worth killing wildlife for a 10-minute joyride? Bugatti has since adapted its building materials to something more sturdy, but birds and stray animals are still in danger of losing their lives at the nose end of a Bugatti Chiron. Of course, this is an issue that has plagued airlines for decades, but rarely affects traditional vehicles. Bugatti is a household name, known for million-dollar sports cars and unbelievable designs. Few people would associate Bugatti with practical utilitarian models like a Passat or a Beetle, but the fact is Bugatti has been owned by Volkswagen since 1998. After founder Ettore Bugatti passed away in 1947, the company was mismanaged and fell on hard times. The last official appearance of the company as an independent business was at the 1952 Paris Motor Show. Believe it or not, at this point Bugatti went totally bankrupt and ceased operations for several years until it was acquired by millionaire investor Roman Artioli, who eventually sold the failing brand to Volkswagen. Since then, Volkswagen has developed most of the iconic Bugatti cars, including the Veyron, and the relationship has been symbiotic. Volkswagen makes far more from its luxury brands, such as Lamborghini, Audi, and Bentley, than it does under its own imprint. The luxury brands have also been insulated from Volkswagen's recent string of public faux pas, as most people don't associate the brands. This is good for Volkswagen's bottom line, because as their core business suffers, Bugatti has increasingly kept their company solvent. As we've established, the Veyron's engine is nothing to joke about. This supercharged car has a number of tricks up its sleeve, but perhaps most impressive is the turbocharged engine. Bugatti pulled off a miracle with their W16 engine because it packs more than 1,000 horsepower into a compact frame. The specs are pretty impressive. Maximum power output is 736 kilowatts at 6,000 revolutions per minute, with a maximum torque of 1,250 Newton meters, from 2,200 to 5,500 revolutions per minute. Essentially, the turbocharger works by pressuring the engine cylinders so that they can pack more air inside. The more air inside the cylinder, the more fuel it can combust. But tragedy struck in 2001 when one of the engine's 16 cylinders burst at the Veyron factory, burning it to the ground. Though no one was harmed, it proves just how temperamental these engines can truly be. Many hobbyists gripe that you cannot make any DIY repairs to Bugattis, but part of the equation is liability. Bugatti worries that an amateur mechanic could burst a cylinder, or worse, causing serious injury. One of the most infamous sports cars in the world, the Bugatti Veyron is legendary for its one-of-a-kind performance. The Veyron is a car built around an engine. Essentially, Bugatti made the decision to blow the doors off the supercar world by creating a 1,000 horsepower engine. Everything else follows from that resolution. In terms of specs, the Veyron has a top speed of 250 miles per hour, a 0 to 60 time of 3 seconds, 0 to 180 time of 14 seconds, and a price tag somewhere in the $1.2 million range. The limited run vehicle only existed for one generation of production. The first car was produced in 2004 and the last in 2014. Luxury car makers count on these limited runs to drive up the price of cars over time as they become rare collector's items. The Veyron is no exception. As hobbyists began to soup up their wheels, these cars will easily be worth multiple millions of dollars. According to one of the Veyron's designers, the biggest challenge in creating the Veyron was the aerodynamics. How do you keep a 250-mile-per-hour passenger car on the road? The Veyron's dimensions help to some extent. The car is 79 inches wide, 176 inches long, and only 48 inches high. Keep in mind that a Hummer 2 is 81.2 inches wide. The Bugatti is extremely wide for its height. The underside of the Veyron, like a Formula One car, is streamlined and Venturi-shaped to increase downforce. There's also a wing in the back of the Veyron that extends automatically at high speed to increase downforce and keep the car glued to the road. With the rest of the car's risks, Bugatti couldn't deal with any more liability. As we've already established, Bugatti's turbocharged engines are an accident waiting to happen, and in 1939 that risk became a reality. While testing one of the vehicles, a cylinder burst, causing the rest of the engine to ignite. Because the cars require so much fuel to go a normal distance, they're a veritable bomb. The driver was killed instantly, and the track sustained serious damage. Ultimately, there was only one fatality, but the accident sent a clear message. Precision is paramount with Bugatti, or it can be deadly. However, Ettore was clear that he was willing to take serious risks in the pursuit of greatness. In the end, he built a world-class car.